Hi, I'm Katie Havelda, one of the creators of Treasure Kits. And my business partner, Townley Dalton, and I are so thrilled that you are going to have Treasure Kits available in your classroom for your students to use. Today we're going to be talking about our Calm Down Kit, which you have received to use with your kiddos. And we're going to talk about some of the neuroscience behind regulating the nervous system, why this kit is helpful and important in that process, how that can help you as a classroom teacher. We're also going to go over the contents of the kit, why each item was chosen, and why it can be helpful to kids that need a minute to regulate. And then we'll talk about some practical tips about management and using this kit in your classroom to avoid chaos and mess and all the things that make the day more stressful. We don't want any of that. So I've got some really great tips for you on how to introduce this to your kids, how to manage it, and how to have them help you be responsible for keeping it neat and tidy. I'm so glad you got this opportunity for your children. Let's get started. I started my career as a classroom teacher in elementary and then went on to get my master's degree in social work and am now in LCSW. I still work in the schools. I always have. I think once a teacher, always a teacher. That's where I feel most at home, and I love being around kids. So as I started to create treasure kits with my business partner, we started to talk about ways where treasure kits could not just be fun sensory play that provides a lot of great fine motor development to children, but also ways that I would like to use treasure kits to incorporate mental health and self-regulation and emotional awareness for kids. And that's where the Calm Down Kit was actually our first kit that had more of a mental health component to it. So I'm really thrilled that you have the opportunity to have this in your classroom. As you introduce it to kids, you'll have a video that I will provide to you of me talking to the kids about the kit. But you'll obviously want to have a fuller conversation about what this is and why we now have this opportunity in our classroom. So one thing I talk to kids about a lot is two parts of the brain, the thinking part of the brain and the feelings part of the brain, or the emotional brain. If you look online, you'll find a lot of different ways that people talk about that. They talk about an upstairs brain and a downstairs brain. I talk to kids a lot about their guard dog and their wise owl. So if you Google any of that, you'll find some great YouTube videos helping you explain that to children. But basically what we're trying to convey to them is that we have a thinking brain, which is like our cerebral cortex, where we do a lot of the higher level thinking and functioning that we want children to do when they're at school. And we also have this really important part of our brain called the amygdala that protects us. It's always on, it's always scanning our environment for threat. And when the amygdala fires, the thinking brain will shut down so that the amygdala can keep our bodies safe, because that's the most important thing for that part of the brain. We also can teach them that the amygdala often will slowly start to wake up before it fully fires. And that's the moment where we can really talk about self-regulation and helping our amygdala understand if we're truly under threat or if it's just a perceived threat. So there's a moment there where we can talk about self-management for them. And then we can also talk about regulating their nervous system when the amygdala has fully fired and they are in fight, flight, or freeze. So basically, we're using kid language to explain the neuroscience behind what's happening in everyone's brain. Our brains do this all day, every day, and it's a very natural and normal process. And I think when we talk to kids about how important it is to have an amygdala that's always on the lookout to keep us safe, it really normalizes the experience for them. There is nothing wrong with their brain. That is what their brain was designed to do. So when the nervous system is activated by some kind of threat, it can be something truly dangerous. So I always say, like, if I open this door and there's a tiger waiting for me, my amygdala is going to fire, and my amygdala is either going to tell me to run, to fight the tiger, or to freeze and hope that the tiger doesn't see me. But there are so many things that happen in our day-to-day lives where our amygdala fires and it's actually got it a little bit wrong. So we can think about things like taking a test. You know, I always say to my students, the MAP test doesn't want to eat you, but it might feel like the MAP test is attacking you. Your amygdala might be trying to protect you from it. So we can talk to kids a lot about things that are truly threatening, and maybe when our guard dog has started barking and he's barking at the wrong moment. And then how do we calm him back down so that we can get our thinking brain online? So like if we use testing as an example, we say, we really need that cerebral cortex during a test. And when the guard dog is barking like crazy and making us so nervous and so anxious, we're not thinking at our best. So all of this is to say that we can tell children it's okay if your guard dog activates. And we, as trauma-informed educators, know that there are things that will activate the guard dog in some of our students that we aren't even aware of. It might be a smell, it might be a sound, it might be something that you said that triggers a trauma response, and the guard dog is right there and he's ready. He's had a lot of practice for kids that have been through trauma, and he activates. And to us who look around the classroom and think nothing threatening is happening here, what on earth? We don't know. And it's okay to not know, and just to recognize that something has activated in this child and they need an opportunity to calm down. And that's where your Calm Down Kit is going to come into play. So it is a way for kids to take a time out, but not like a punishment time out, to take a time away and regulate their nervous system, use some things that'll activate their senses before we start asking them to activate their thinking brain and really have a conversation with us about what happened. So they need to be able to regulate the nervous system, calm down the amygdala, and then their cerebral cortex will come back online, which is a part of the brain that helps us manage verbal skills, helps us understand what's being said to us, and then be able to express ourselves back. And even having a concrete way to represent what they were feeling, what it looked like in their body, what was going on, is going to help them have a better conversation with you about what just happened. Another amazing thing that I hope starts to happen in your classroom is when children start recognizing that the guard dog is sort of waking up, and they ask for a Calm Down Kit session before they're in a full-blown dysregulated state. So I really think that this could be a really powerful tool for your kids. So I want to show you what's in the kit, and then I want to talk to you a little bit about how to manage that. You've got one kit and definitely 25, 30 kids. So there's ways that I would recommend managing that and letting them ask for their sessions and how to clean it back up and all those things that are important. And when teachers get something new, they want to know, like, logistically, how are we going to handle this? But I'll show you the contents now. When you open your Calm Down Kit, you'll find the following contents. First, let's talk about the dough that's available for student use. We have a blue, a purple, and a green dough. The purple dough is scented with lavender essential oil, which has been proven to help calm and regulate the nervous system. That's why you'll find lavender in a lot of products that are said to help with sleep. They help relax the body. One thing that's really important in this kit that I'd like you to make note of is your 2-minute timer. We ask students to go ahead when they head over to use the Calm Down Kit and flip that timer over. The rule is, while the 2-minute timer is draining out, nobody talks. The teacher doesn't engage, no other adult in the room engages, and the student is just given 2 minutes to let their thinking brain come back online when their emotional brain has taken over. This also gives the teacher a few minutes to calm themselves down as well. And it just helps teach children that they need a little time to regroup when their thinking brain has been turned off. So make sure you always teach them to start with the 2-minute timer. It doesn't mean that they can only use the kit for 2 minutes. It just means that during those 2 minutes, everyone is quiet and just allows some space for the emotion to be and to start to settle. We also have some feelings faces provided in the kit. This is to help children start to build their emotional vocabulary and start to articulate what they're feeling. They can use those in whatever way they want, but those are there to help build the idea that it's not just happy, sad, and mad. There's a lot of other feelings that come and go throughout the day. We included a cookie cutter that is in the outline of a body, very specifically, so that we can begin to have conversations with children about where they feel emotion in their body. If we can help children understand that there is certainly a connection between our mind, our body, and our emotions, this is a great place to start. Our body will often give us physical cues about what emotion we're feeling long before our mind has the time to articulate the thought. So if a child can indicate to you with the pipe cleaners or the straws or some other way that when I start to feel anxious, I feel it in my belly or my heart is beating fast. When I start to feel angry, my hands get really tense. I get a headache. When they start to identify for you where they feel it in their body, and that's individual to each person, you're making a huge leap in helping them with self-awareness and emotional management. We have a lot of items in this kit that were specifically chosen to provide different sensory input. You will notice that children will gravitate to different items that feel good to them, that provide a soothing sensation to their body and allow them to calm. So this little guy has a very, very soft and stretchy texture as opposed to this spiky ball, which is actually rather hard and prickly. Some students will love this and think it feels really good, and some students will actually move away from it and not use it as much. It's really a personal preference. The tube is also fun to extend and shorten. It gives some auditory input, and also they can roll it in the dough for some soothing sensory input along with the slinky. In addition, we have these two stamps in this bottom corner. So when I'm working with children in my office, one of the items that I use are mandalas, where they color these intricate patterns. And I was trying to think of a way to incorporate that into the kit. So these stamps actually have sort of a mandala-like pattern on them. They're all a little bit different, but students can take this and stamp it into the dough and make a repeating pattern that actually gives a really soothing sensation to children. So that's the contents of the kit and all the things that they might use. Every child, and every adult for that matter, is going to use these pieces in different ways. There's really no right or wrong way to use the items as long as they're using them as a tool for self-regulation. And we'll talk more in a minute about how to set expectations for your Calm Down kit and how to talk to children about treating the items respectfully, but using them in a way that really does benefit them. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the logistics of having an opportunity like this in your classroom and some of the things you might want to consider. I am only offering suggestions. I don't know your kids. I don't know your classroom setup. So this is kind of a take it or leave it thing. Just maybe some things to consider, to think about, and then to kind of negotiate it as to what works best for you. So one thing I would recommend is that after you introduce the kit, show them my video, then have like a classroom discussion about it, tell them where the kit is going to be, and I would go ahead and set some expectations as a group and decide on those together. And I would, if it was my classroom, I would post those expectations next to where the Calm Down kit is going to be. That we all agreed that this is something really exciting and really cool that we have in our classroom that not everybody has, and this is how we're going to treat the materials. So I think that would be really helpful, just to like set it up front, like this is how we do it. This is how we use things. This is how we put things away. You have been provided with a PDF that is like an aerial photograph of the kit. I would recommend that you print that in black and white and then put it near where the kit is going to be, so that when it's time for them to finish up and to repackage the kit, they know what items go in what compartments, and also that all the items are accounted for, so that you're not losing pieces here and there. That would be really frustrating as the year went on. I would print it in black and white, because where the kit that I showed you has like an orange fuzzy guy, yours might be blue or purple, and you don't want the kids to get hung up on that. Well, we don't have a purple one, but the orange one in there. So I would just use like the aerial picture in black and white, and that way they can like kind of check off and be like, okay, I've got all the pieces, I've put them all back, it's ready for the next student who wants to use it. So there's a care label on the lid that says store in airtight bags. We have provided you with jars, So I would just talk to the kids about tightening those the best they can. Now, I know, especially with little ones, you may come to check on the kit after school one day and realize that somebody has not tightened it as you would have wished. And that's okay. If the dough dries out a little, you can really just wet your hands and kind of run a tiny bit of water back through it, and it should bring it back to life. I wouldn't get too much water. It can get slimy, but just kind of get some on your hands and your dough will survive. One thing I would talk about with the kids as a community is whether or not we want to combine our dough colors. And I would even take a tiny bit of 2 different colors and smush them together and show them. This is what happens when we combine Play-Doh, and it can't be taken back apart. So how do we want to handle that? So some teachers will feel like they want to have some stronger parameters on that, and others aren't going to worry about it, and that's okay. And when the kids are putting the dough back in the jar, encourage them to push down with their thumb, because we really gave you every bit of Play-Doh we could give you in that jar. We filled it up, knowing that, little bits and pieces here and there are going to get swept away and crumpled. So that's something to kind of teach them. Those jars are really full, and we want to keep them as full as possible. So when you introduce the kit and you set the expectations and you show them where it's going to be, I would let every kid have an opportunity to go and use the Calm Down kit, not because they're in need of it, but just because we're all going to practice with it. We're all going to explore it. Everybody's going to get a turn. And maybe you say that, like, today we're going to give everybody 10 minutes and I'm just going to draw out a name and it'll be your 10 minutes to go explore. One thing I would encourage you to do possibly is to have them write or draw or just tell you how they feel before they go to the Calm Down kit, spend their 10 minutes, and then report back to you how they feel after having 10 minutes with this sensory kit. And I think that might be something for them to note, like, oh, I really do feel more relaxed. I feel more focused. I feel more calm, so that they then understand that if you ask them to go take some time with the Calm Down kit, or if they feel like they need it, it's certainly not ever to be considered a punishment. It's something that you are offering them. So I would give everybody a chance to make sure that they know what's in there, and they're going to be excited about it, I hope. So it'll give them a little bit of time to do that. So the other thing I wanted to say, kids really need physical parameters for how much space they're allowed to take up with an activity. And as a classroom teacher, when I taught my small groups, I had kids at centers, and I was constantly working on ways to help them sort of set up a physical boundary, like a bath towel or a mat or something, kind of in the Montessori type thinking of like, this is my space that I have. So our kits are designed intentionally that our lids are removable, and this can be the play space. So most people that buy these kits will remove the top, have them use this, put everything back, and then reattach the top. So you can certainly do that, and that's what that is designed for. It creates like a marker for them. Like, my activity has to stay within this space. It can't be all over the table or all over the floor. Some teachers say to me, I worry that a child may sort of like break the plastic hinge or something, like if they are upset when they go over, or if they're just little and their hands aren't ready. And I understand that. You may not want your top being pulled on and off. That's okay. And the other thing I would recommend is perhaps right underneath the kit to just have like an old cookie sheet, and you just say, this is the space where we create and play and use our sensory kit, and it doesn't go beyond the edges of this cookie sheet. Another option would be just like get an old placemat, like a plastic placemat that can be easily wiped off, and use that sort of as your boundary. So I think those are just like helpful things to think about. I would make sure that you think about a reasonable time limit. And I wouldn't say it as you got 10 minutes, and if you don't have it together, we're heading up to the office, right? Because then there's like this pressure, like I have to regulate within 10 minutes. So maybe you say something to the effect of, I'm going to check in on you in 5 minutes and see how it's going. I'm going to see if you're ready to talk. I'm going to see if you need anything in about 5 minutes. And then check in, and you'll be able to tell, like, if they're regulating, if they need a little more time. They likely will. And maybe you say, I'm going to check back in 5 more minutes, or I'm going to set a timer to remind me to come over in 10 minutes and see how you're doing. It looks like you're working really hard to calm down your guard dog, and I think you need a little more time. Do you think you need a little more time? They'll likely agree because this is an enjoyable experience to help them self-regulate, and we want it to be. So really the time limit is up to you and how you want to structure your classroom, but maybe just phrasing it in a way of, I'll be back to check on you. Then when you think they're pretty regulated, if you come to do a check-in and you think, okay, I think we're ready to get back to academic work, then I would say, okay, you've done a great job. You've really worked on calming down your body. I can tell that your thinking brain has come back online, and I'm so glad to see that. You did a wonderful job working through this. I love what you create. Do you want to tell me more about what you've made here? Whatever. And then I would use that 2-minute timer, and I would say, I want you to take 2 more minutes. Anything you need to finish up, anything you want to do. And when the 2-minute timer is done, I'd like you to start cleaning up your activity. And don't forget, there's a picture here to help you remember where to put things. So again, we can kind of use that 2-minute timer as a way to like slowly transition back. I think if we grab kids out too quickly, like, okay, you're good, you're done, let's go, you may get another firing of the amygdala, which is what you were trying to avoid. So I hope that all those things are helpful to you. You, again, are going to be getting an email with this video that you can rewatch, a video for your kids, a video for your parents, a PDF picture to help them put things back where they go, and also our email will be attached. It's treasurekits@gmail.com, and our website is on there as well. So please, please, please reach out to us with any of your questions, anything you run into that's not working well. We really want this to be successful for you. We're really excited that so many kids are going to have the opportunity to practice regulating their nervous system. It's really important to us. So please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much. We hope you enjoy your treasure kit.